After signing multiple five-star prospects in the 2025 class, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs are looking to do the same in this current 2026 cycle. That's what I'm going to talk about in today's video. I'm going to focus on the in-state defenders because, again, the state of Georgia is absolutely loaded with elite defenders, and the Dogs are sitting in a pretty good spot with a lot of them. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if, like last year, Georgia tries to stay in state more in this class because they really don't have to go too far out of it. There's linebackers, defensive linemen, edge defenders, defensive backs, a lot of guys for Georgia to choose from this 2026 class. So let's jump right into it. Now, if you're familiar with my work, if you're on Dawg Post, you know all about five-star linebacker Tyler Atkinson. He is one of the best linebacker prospects that I have ever covered, and I've been doing this for 10 plus years. And I think no matter where this young man signs, he could be a Butkus Award type of player. He knows that he can do that at Georgia. He's very familiar with the staff there, and I do think Georgia probably sits at the top of the leaderboard right now, but it's not by a lot, and there's a long way to go. Ohio State is pushing hard, Colorado, Michigan, Alabama, Clemson, yeah, everyone wants this young man. Michigan, doesn't matter, everyone wants him. He had 166 tackles last year, 32 tackles for a loss, 13 sacks, 1 interception. He's the number 9 prospect in the country, the number 1 linebacker, and the best player in the state of Georgia, in my opinion. Georgia offered him, I think it may have been in 8th grade. If it wasn't 8th grade, it was the very beginning of his freshman season. The guy's been a phenom in the state of Georgia since middle school. There's a reason he is a top 10 player in the country. And right now, I know that Georgia's done everything they can to put themselves in a good position to land him. Glenn Schumann had a visit with him, I believe, at the end of January. Kirby Smart has checked on him, but so has everyone else. So they're going to have to fight for him. It's not going to be easy, even though he's kind of a local kid, right? Gwinnett County, about, an hour away from Athens at most, I think. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Georgia sits in a really good spot. Moving right along, Xavier Griffin is another linebacker out of Gainesville. He's currently committed to, I think, Southern Cal, but if he flips, I'm thinking it's to Alabama at some point. So not a lot to talk about there, but he's a guy that Georgia likes. Obviously, really good, really talented. 43 tackles, 13 tackles for a loss, 6 sacks last year for Gainesville. He's the number 2 linebacker in the country, number 25 overall. So the top 2 linebackers across America, both from the state of Georgia. But I like Georgia's chances with Tyler Atkinson more than Xavier Griffin. Bryce Perry Wright, one of the best defensive line prospects in the country. He just came out with his official visit schedule, and you could read about that over on Dawg Post. I wrote that story this morning. I heard from him last night, and he will be in Athens June 18th that weekend. So more information on him is over on the website. He's the number 4 defensive lineman, number 59 overall prospect in the country. Now, he's a little undersized compared to other defensive linemen that Georgia has signed over the years. He's just 6'2", 250. Georgia offered him later than most programs, but it does feel like they're turning it up a notch on him. He was in Athens, January 18th is when he was in Athens. And I thought I had the official date in front of me. Actually, let's go back. Let's go to Dawg Post right now and get that official visit date. It wasn't in my notes, but right now it is June 6th. So June 6th through June 8th, Bryce Perry Wright out of Buford, one of the best defensive linemen, not only in Georgia, but across the South and across the country. He'll be in Athens June 6th for an official visit. Before that, in May, he'll be at Auburn, then Clemson, then Georgia to kick off June, and then Texas and Texas A&M. So, slightly undersized, but he's productive. He's totaled over 100 tackles and 16 and a half sacks from the interior defensive line position at Buford High School. So definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Over in Middle Georgia, Houston County, one of the best safety prospects in the country, Jordan Smith. He's the number 10 safety in America, number 99 overall, 6'2", 180 pounds, can fly around in the secondary, closes well in coverage, but he knows how to hit. He runs a 4.38, so dude, it just glides all over the field. He's instinctive, he's quick, and he's obviously one of the fastest defensive backs you will find, not only in Georgia, but across the South. 85 tackles last year from his safety position, 2 interceptions, 7 pass breakups. He got a visit from Kirby Smart at his school on January 16th. So he's a Middle Georgia guy to keep a close eye on out of Houston County. And again, a prospect I really like. He will be taking an official visit to Georgia. For more on that, make sure, again, you're going to Dawg Post because I'm writing up recruiting stories left and right now. So my fingers are almost getting tired. But anything you need to know about recruiting, we've got it over on the website. So make sure you're checking that out. An edge defender to keep a close eye on. I've talked about this young man before, but Kamari Brooks, 6'2", 220, 131 tackles last year for North Oconee. 17 tackles behind in the backfield, behind the line of scrimmage, 13 sacks, 3 pass breakups, 1 interception, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, 24 more quarterback hurries, 2 defensive touchdowns. There's a reason why he's one of the best edge defenders across the country. A top Georgia target from North Oconee, right outside of Athens. So he's a local kid. I think it's will come down to Georgia and Alabama. He was in Athens January 18th, but he was at Alabama last weekend. The Tide are making him a top target. Would be a massive pull for Alabama if they went into Bogart, Georgia, or North Oconee. That's probably Watkinsville, right? Someone can correct me there. So Watkinsville, North Oconee, right? And land this kid away from Georgia, that would be massive. So I think it's important that if Georgia really likes this kid, he's right down the street, they need to get him on the commit list because I went and saw North Oconee last year. Of course, they had wide receiver Landon Rolden, who signed with Georgia in the 25 class. I went to watch him, and while he was really good, no doubt about it, Kamari Brooks was outstanding, easy to notice. He's got size, strength, and lived in the backfield last year. So definitely a guy to keep a close eye on the edge. Let's go over to Cobb County. Jordan Edmonds is a 6'3", 170-pound cornerback from Sprayberry High School, a program on the rise. I used to live right in that area, and they stunk for the longest time. They were just a bad team. They've got some players. They had a kid signed with Missouri last year, and they've got 2 guys in the secondary that have Georgia offers. But I want to talk about Jordan Edmonds first. He's the number 12 cornerback prospect in the country, number 140 overall. So he's solid 4-star with length, speed. He's fundamentally sound. He's got good footwork. He's got, I think Georgia, Alabama, and Florida probably the top 3 right now. Kirby went to watch him play basketball in late January. Not a slam dunk to Georgia or anything, and I don't think any of these guys are. I mean, it is February, and we've seen on the recruiting trail that a commitment right now doesn't mean much. To some, it does because every once in a while you'll have a kid who commits and then shuts it down. But with kids being able to take as many officials as they want, taking visits all throughout the spring, the summer, the fall, getting a guy on the commit list is good, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot right now. But this is an in-state cornerback that I really like, that Georgia really likes, that you should keep an eye on the rest of the way. And then Keelan Jones, his Sprayberry teammate, he plays safety. He made 42 tackles, 4 interceptions last year. He's a guy whose recruitment has really blown up over the last few weeks. So he doesn't really have a high ranking right now, but he will. That tape that he put out last year was really impressive. Just a ball hawk in the secondary. So Georgia extended an offer, and so did a lot of other programs. So those are 2 kids out of Sprayberry High School in Marietta to keep a close eye on if you're a Georgia fan. Others to know that you need to keep an eye on Nasir McCoy. Is a cornerback safety out of Buford High School. He is really close to KJ Bolden, of course, the 5-star who signed with Georgia last year. Instinctive, productive player for Buford, so he's a guy to know as well. Drake Quinn is an edge defender at Greater Atlanta Christian and Norcross that Georgia's in on. Georgia Tech is pushing hard for him and a few other programs. I don't think Georgia leads there, but definitely a guy to still keep an eye on. He was in Athens for a junior day visit in late January. Lasai Jackson is a defensive back out of Lee County that Georgia offered. Not sure where they sit with him, but I do think they're in a really good position for Carter Lucky, a defensive lineman out of Norcross. He's coming off a really productive season and has had a Georgia offer for a while. Of course, his brother, Lawson Lucky, already plays at Georgia. His father played at Georgia, so a Georgia legacy through and through. He's got a Georgia offer. I believe they were one of the first to offer him early in his high school career. So I don't see any reason why they're going to take the foot off the pedal there. So they're in a good spot for him. But overall, there's a lot of really talented in-state defenders, once again, who are, towards the top of their position group across the country that Georgia sits in a really good position for. But Tyler Atkinson is the big prize. And if they don't get him, look for them to really turn up the heat on Xavier Griffin. I'm sure they like to take both. Deuce Gerald's is a promising edge defender out of Collins Hill, who finally got his Georgia offer that felt like every other program offered him. Like Bryce Perry Wright, just a little undersized, but one of the more productive players across the state. And the dude's been dominant since he was a freshman. And he'll be at Collins Hill once again as a senior. And he's just going to wreck dudes. He's going to wreck everyone that goes against him in this fall as a senior. Top 100 player, at least in my opinion. I don't know where he's ranked on the other sides, but big, strong, physical, some of the biggest hands I've ever seen on a kid. I first met him at an 8th grade all-star game, and the dude's hands were bigger than mine, and his voice was deeper than mine. He had a better beard than I could grow at just like 14, 15 years old. It was crazy. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on. So, again, you can read all of this and more over on Dawg Post, but there are some elite in-state defenders that I think Georgia has a really good chance of signing in this 2026 class. There's a long way to go, but just a few names that I want to share with y'all. You can read more on Dawg Post, and I'll probably make videos of other in-state defenders and probably some out-of-state prospects very, very soon. But I want to talk about some in-state defenders that y'all need to know about in this 26 class. Thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you over on Dawg Post.